So let me check if now everything is all right. Can you please let me know in the chat if the microphone is working better now, if you have better sound output right now. As you can see, I'm going live like a whole hour earlier than anticipated, hence a little bit the chaotic start. But we have some tremendous volatility on Bitcoin. So I decided to, you know what? As I was just watching the price action, and I was actually setting up my studio this week. As you can see, I've got myself some new equipment. I've got myself a new camera, so I think you can now fully enjoy my face right now. I'm setting up like my studio. I've been building, really busy this week with just, I've been trading here and there for a little bit on my own. But most of the stuff that I've been doing this week is just getting my studio sorted. And as you can see now, I have gotten myself a new camera. I have some lights, and as you can see, the imagery is now a lot more crisp and all that. So that's basically what I've been up to this week. Hence the reason why I haven't been posting so much on Twitter this week, for example, because that's the reason. And then today I did post a post giving you all a little bit of context. So actually, let's just switch over right away. I want to wait just a few more minutes so that just people can roll in, I know that the majority of the people is basically waiting for in 1 hour for me to go live. But I'm going now. So just want to give it a few more minutes before I dive into the analysis. And that actually gives me some time to to talk a little bit, to wait for people to come in, to greet you all in the chat, and to address something that I think is important to know of the way how I'm standing into this, like sharing my analysis and all that. So the technical stuff is now supposedly sorted. Just let me know if the sound is over basing or overruling, if I have my mic too close or whatever. Just let me know. I see here in the chat Bjarn Games, welcome my friend. Little Beast, welcome everybody. Such a blast to have you all here. Please help me get this video to a wider audience by, doing the stuff like hitting the bell, hitting the notification button, because in the end, that's what these buttons are made for. Just smash it as hard as you can, so that we can get this video out to more people. I think this video is gonna be pretty good because I'm gonna just live go through the charts. I'm just gonna improvise and roll with it. The first thing I do want to address is I posted a tweet earlier today, which gave us some context as to, why we had the price increases as we had, and obviously you're always going to have people that comment on these kind of things, and I'm literally not calling out anybody in particular, but there's one thing that I really would like you guys to know. My stance on the market is I'm a trader. That's what I do each and every day. I trade swing trades, I trade day trades, scalp trades. I invest over a much longer horizon time frame. And it's not my goal to, predict all the time what price is going to do. All I'm doing here is trying to share what I know about the market. However you are trading it is totally up to you, because I'm not giving signals, and that is something I will never ever do, because I have my own methodology of trading. What I want to do is I want to pass the knowledge and experiences that I've gotten over my time trading the markets in the hope so that you can get a better understanding of how I'm looking at the chart and get familiar yourself so that you can do this by yourself. So you will not see me saying like doing crazy predictions or whatsoever and then telling like, see, I was right? So although there are many occasions when the levels that I do give are being very well respected, but you can trade these levels in so many different ways, right? So you will never see me saying like, this is what's going to happen next. This is the trade I'm in. This is my take profit. This is my take profit too. And this is my stop loss. That comes very close to a signal group. However, I'm pretty much not so keen on doing signals, for the reason being that I know exactly what I'm looking at. I already have a plan marked out. I already know exactly what I'm going to do when a certain level gets hit. Some of the levels are share on stream, which is one of the levels that we are literally dealing with right now, right? So if I would ever give something like a signal or whatever, it doesn't make sense to me, because when I'm entering into a specific trade, a plan that I made weeks in advance, for example, doesn't and the market situation, let's say, changes and my trade ID gets invalidated, well then obviously I might already have changed my trading idea and I'm maybe already in a new trade. So, that is what I just wanted to get out of the way before I dive into the analysis. Whenever whenever I share a chart, it's for the purpose of, for you learning how I'm looking at the chart and providing the context that I'm looking at with the market. So even if something happened yesterday, it's still important to know what happened in the past, because that provides the context as to why we are having the current price action as we do, and that gives us a nice cue to actually get into the analysis. So, hope you all understand that. I'm all for transparency, and I'm just gonna be like, I want this channel to be a no nonsense, technical analysis, trading kind of channel, right? For people from all levels. I do have to admit, probably today we're gonna go pretty advanced, because I wanna actually go live into the order flow. However, before we do that, we first need to build a little bit of context. And, let me take a sip of water. I am drinking water and black coffee with a little bit of sugar. Let me know what you are drinking, and I'm interested. For me, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. So it's we're literally in the middle of the New York session. And that is one of the reasons, why we are having the price action that we have right now. Because, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the occasions where some fundamental news actually helps, in price progression. Because, we had the inflation data coming out. We had, for 3 parts of the country, actually, or of the world, we first had, if I'm not mistaken, China inflation rates, then we had India inflation rates, and then we have the United States. And all the inflation rates and the CPI, actually, the consumer price index, actually is starting to ease down a little bit, and that can cause that can spark a little bit of positivity in the markets, and that is pretty much what it looks like what is going on right now, because we have some reactions on the dollar, and automatically, because of the inverse correlation, we also now have some upside on Bitcoin. And that does bring us to a extremely, extremely important point on Bitcoin. And I am going to go over exactly what I'm thinking right now, and why am I thinking the way that I do. First, let's build a little bit of context. The whole analysis, the macro analysis that I've done is to be found in the live stream from last week. If you want to know about that, just check out my channel and click on the video. There's literally only one video on there, so you can't miss it. That's about the bigger thing. But to quickly summarize what I was looking at is, overall, if I would subdivide the chart, basically looking at June from last year, we are in this really, 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 really big box. What I want to do is subdivide it as follows. We were having a sideways consolidation range for over 5 months, really, where we had a really big increase, where we had a really big drop. It's a very wide range, but still constrained within a certain framework. You know, you could say that that range is wow. Can't you do you notice? I'm really pumped actually. So I need to watch my breath here a little bit. Uh, so you can choose to mark out that top of that range over here, or you can say I'm gonna do it over here, which is also fine and well respected. So there's multiple ways that you can view it. None of those influences what comes after, really. However, it does give you some levels ultimately to the upside, which is this region, the $23,000 region, and the $24,000 region afterwards. However, we're we're not there yet, right? But it does give us some context. And then we actually broke out into that range, and we have been forming for yet another 2 months a range outside of this other range, which led me to believe that at this point in time, I'm still not necessarily bullishly biased, but as I said in the past video, in order for me to become a little bit more optimistic and thus slightly more bullish overall on the macro time frame on Bitcoin, we have to reclaim an extremely important level, and that is that $19,200 region. As a matter of fact, to be super precise, 19,166. Now, why is that? Well, the reason is we have built up a lot of volume over the course of literally 5 months, right? And even if you include all the price action, as a matter of fact, we still have that the most volume transacted at this particular level. Now I'm gonna go over that level in a second, because we have yet another puzzle piece that we need to know about in order for us to, to move into what is happening right now. So, and that brings us to zoom into the following price section. Right? So as you can see, I'm going from the high time frame to a lower time frame to the lower time frame to what is happening right now. I've already prepared a little bit for you guys, because what happened over the last week or so, actually since the beginning of January, we have started to create locally bullish market structure, putting in consecutively highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, and now once again a higher high, higher low, and now once again full-on continuation, where we now seemingly have broken out of this 2-month-long standing range, where we, as a matter of fact, do not have much resistance until the next range, which is that old 5-month range, has started and ended, and now we are attempting to challenge these levels once again after a long period of time. So you can imagine that we are right now at a really crucial point on Bitcoin. But how did we got there? Aside from this local bullish market structure, we were still constrained into this particular range, right? What happened more locally was, as a matter of fact, and this is where we are starting to get into the Twitter post that I did today, we have also a sub-range in between. I hope that you can follow along till now. So let me just make sure that everybody understands what I'm talking about. I'm talking about this box, right? Where we can subdivide it once again into, for example, this box. And as you can see, then yesterday and today, or more specifically yesterday, we've actually broken out of this small range. And that opened up for us the possibility for us to actually move up into the bigger section of this box, starting to challenge these highs of this range, and more specifically this one, or this region, I would say. Really big wick, candle close over here, which marks out a daily level for me, because that was that candle close was made on a daily level, as you can see, right? So let me just see if I can put that one on and isolate that from all the rest, because at the moment it's not so relevant to take a look at that. Don't worry, we are working our way to the current price section, giving us the full context of what has happened technically. Taking the, even if there's news, we're taking all of that out of the equation, right? So breaking out of the range, generating for ourselves a more or less of another sideways range. And the thing is, I constructed this channel when we were literally trading here based off of here. So we did not have this information at the time yet, So this is how I constructed this channel, envisioning we could potentially form yet another range, something like this, before potentially making a further advancement. What happened instead is we saw a retracement, a full-on retracement. If you're keen on Elliott waves, we saw ourselves a local retracement of an A, B to a C, finalizing a local correction, so that we can have another leg up, so to speak. Or if you would look at it in a bigger perspective, kind of like a running flat idea, right? Which is an extremely bullish consolidation. Now, what level got extremely well respected? That's right, the midline of this particular channel got tapped, stayed there very shortly, and boom, off we go. Breaking out of this range again, coming into the golden pocket at the time, which we totally obliterated at some point over here. Not even visible on the higher time frame, but if we zoom down, we can see this golden pocket levels being tapped a few times, but giving a very, very, very weak reaction. What you typically would expect is either a drop back into this range so that you can, look for further downside. That never really happened. Initially, we front ran the level. We had a partial retracement, backtesting this level really nicely. So you could say that this is actually a support, a resistance flipped into support, where this is where the resistance is being created. Now, this old resistance is here being flipped back into support. We breach through that newly created resistance and backtest it as support. And then we come up to the level exactly to the 618, 17,580. Might not be super accurate right now with the pulling of the level, because I'm trying to get as quick as I can to where we need to be. But you can see that once again we got rejected and that support held. Then we had another attempt, super weak reaction, and ultimately boom, we just blasted straight through it. We also have a daily level slightly above us, which for me was not really a super important level to begin with. However, as a technical analyst and a trader, you must acknowledge that there is a level there. Did I think the level was going to hold? To be honest, not really, because I was much more interested in what was gonna happen at the high of this entire white box that I drew earlier. And we can see that the reason why I thought that, actually, let me explain that, is that there were not any other technical levels around that level. So it's just one level sitting there on its own. That generally does not make up for the strongest resistance, to be honest. Hence was my expectation that I think if we go through the golden pocket over here, seeing this bullish retracement over here, extremely bullish, my expectation was that I think that level was probably not going to hold over here. So, and then what happened? We actually challenged this high, putting in a double top. And for those who already follow me a little bit longer, are very well aware that that I really do not like double tops. Why? Because there's resting liquidity above, which I'm also going to highlight in this stream a little bit later on, if I don't forget. I think that's a really important lesson. And if I forget it, then I'll make a video about it anyway. So testing that, and then, you see another line here, and you might wonder, well, what is that? Well, that is where we are literally getting into the more really local price action, because this level was the place where we opened today. This is XorCharts. It's an order flow software, and that's what I'm going to look at right now. This is the TPO template. You can see that we opened the day over here, right? Let me actually show you how you can mark that out if you do not have this type of software. What you can simply do is see where the previous day candle closed, mark out that line, make sure you select the magnet tool, click on the level, and there you have your daily open. Or you can just put it over here where this new candle opened up. So that is where you would mark out the daily open, which is the opening price of the new trading sessions, which for Bitcoin is, for me at least, 1 o'clock in the night, because this is it's a 24/7 market, right? So that is when the new session starts. We hovered around there we made another increase in price, hovered around there for the majority of the day, really, putting in this double top over here. And when actually the news event started, the CPI meeting started, surprise, what I always expect is kind of like, this level taking out, continuing the range, and then the market makes its decision. And that is exactly what happened. Following the entire bullish structural context over here, I had no reason to think that we're going to drop down, and thus we eventually pushed up much higher in price. And now we have arrived at a really important level, which is the old range. And we can see that even though we sliced slightly through it, we are seeing a current reaction right now from here on out, right? So now as a trader, now is the time to not panic and really reason your way through the situation. And that is exactly what we're going to do right now. Just a quick reminder, by the way, if you just recently joined, if you enjoy this content, if you want me to make more of this kind of stuff, let me know. Just like it, smash the likes, kaput, and we will treadle and biddle together in this bear market. And we will make it work, and we will get prepared for the next cycle that might come, so that you're fully prepared and ready to go in a responsible way, by the way. So don't panic, it's gonna be fine. Bitcoin is gonna be here tomorrow. It's gonna be here in 10 years. If you miss one move, who cares, right? Tomorrow there's gonna be plenty more opportunities. As a matter of fact, if you're not in a trade right now, I would say it's really the best way to just wait things out, wait till price calms down a little bit, so you can actually formulate a plan and make an informed decision, right? Don't jump into positions just like that without even thinking what you're gonna do. Don't focus necessarily only on how much money you might make, rather focus on the amount of money you might lose if you don't have a plan, right? So, and there we go, now you might be, if you're a beginner trader, you might think like, oh my God, we pumped and now we're dumping. But as you can see, this is just its initial reaction. For me, this is nothing special. This doesn't, this doesn't really, make me like, oh my God, I need to do something about it now. As a matter of fact, I already made a plan literally for these levels, literally like 3 months ago or something like that. Basically the day when FTX faltered, and now we're finally at this moment. So let's just calm down, analyze the situation as it is, and see what's going on here, right? Personally, I am looking for this level to be hit. That would be absolutely perfect. Like I said before, and now this is where we're gonna get into the actual level. As a matter of fact, let's leave this level for a second, and I want to dive into the current price action, as a matter of fact. So we've touched the value area low of a really long-standing range. Obviously, I would expect a little bit of a reaction, but how big would this reaction eventually be? That's the question. So it looks like we are getting a reaction right now. We have not really built up that much structure. So we could drop down all the way back to where we started earlier today. Now, is that the most likely? I don't know. Let's find out. I'm going to switch over to a certain template, and I can immediately already see open interest, took a, took a complete nosedive. So clearly this has been a short squeeze. I don't even necessarily need to look at this distinguishment, like which one's closed, was it longs or shorts. I just know from experience already that that this is basically a massive short squeeze into the level. This is normal. This is very normal when you're breaking out of, a longer standing range. This is normal. But what really matters the most is how does price actually recover after hitting the level. That is really what counts. And that's what I want to look at. So first I want to look at the highs, what we see over here. I can see some emptiness in the books over here, so it makes sense. There's no real at this point in time. There's no liquidity. I think it's a little bit too big, so we actually might retest it again. Lining up with the idea that I would like to see some higher price, because for me this is the level that really truly matters the most. We are now just ranging here locally for a little bit, and what we can do is just basically some live analysis on that. So I'm going to start up with, marking out some levels. This was the previous low. We've testing that. It seems like we're at the moment we're holding that. If we start to bounce up further, then we can move this line over here, and this is then our newest potential untapped support. Right? And at the same time, we have, really this level right now. So we don't really need to draw it out. You can see that on the lower time frames. We are now on the 5-minute time frames. It is actually really well respected. So let's just take a look at how that volume is progressing. Obviously, we had major volume coming in because of the squeeze. So a lot of people actually now got pushed out of their short positions, mostly. But how about the longs? So let me just take a quick look at this template. We saw a significant amount of longs, 15 million longs, as a matter of fact, opening up as we were breaking out of the range. So actually it's a sustained move in terms of the long side, So it was not just a short squeeze. It was also backed up by longs, which actually, at this point in time, for me, there's not really any reason to think we're just going to take a nosedive down. Of course we can, this is trading. Anything can happen at any moment, at any point in time, which is one of the reasons why, giving signals, for example, doesn't work, because I'm able to react on whatever I see. So if I now really start to see shorts coming in super aggressively and prices actually starting to drop down, then I'm gonna think like, oh my God, okay, these longs might actually get into trouble along the way, right? And then you might see a deeper drop to the downside. At the moment, none of that is actually really happening. As a matter of fact, we see a lot of people really keen on shorting this level with and this is why we need the context. The context at the moment locally is bullish on the low time frame. Right? On the high time frame is still really bearish, because we're still in a major downtrend, and we have not reclaimed any level whatsoever. Zero. So lost my train of thought here. So at the moment, I would really like to see these highs challenged again, if not higher, Shorts opening up over here leads me to believe that there's a very high chance of actually doing so and have another squeeze kind of move. It would be even greater if it's backed up by new longs, actually. For multiple reasons, it can sustain the move even further, and then if we do get a rejection later on, we know that there is actually liquidity to the downside. I know that I'm talking about. These are really advanced concepts. So if you're not really following along, please don't worry about this too much. I'm not gonna lie, I actually planned to discuss other stuff today in this live stream, but the market is giving us really good price action. So I just really wanted to get into that. you know. And what is happening really right now is very, very, very typical. We hit a level and we're taking a little bit of a breather. We can see that the volume is actually dropping off, where we can now, if you're trading the lower time frames, now you can start really looking into the details and start to actually make a plan on what you would like to see happening over next. For me, this is not the greatest high at the moment. You know, if we start to break down, well, so be it. I'm going to have to accept that this was a great high. As it stands, I do not think this is a great high. Why? Simply because of the lack of participation at the high. Typically, I want to see people getting extremely bullish at major resistances and extremely bearish at major supports. And at the moment, that is not necessarily what I see happening. So for that reason, I think the chances are higher that we're going to see another increase in price before we get a bigger rejection. That is what I would be going for at the moment. Keep in mind that on the macro time frame, so on the daily time frame and maybe higher, I'm now starting to become open for the fact like, hey, was this a higher time frame bottom? Could be, because if we do reclaim this level in particular, right, then we actually have changed our higher time frame structure to a bullish one, and we are actually starting to reclaim some levels. So it's not that I would not say like from here on out we're gonna go definitely to new all-time highs. Absolutely not, So first of all, I don't give price predictions like that because I think they're ridiculous. And second of all, it's just only the first step of reclaiming some important levels. There's no reason to be overly excited for that per se. However, I would recognize this as an early sign of strength. Should this happen, should we breach the level, get back into this old section and actually backtest it and hold it, that will be the first step for me to think, you know what, this was actually a deviation or a really high time frame failed auction type of move of this range. And then what I would do is actually include everything into one big section. And as you can see, I'm drawing all these sections here right now. I see a lot of questions coming in, by the way. I will get to them. If you see me drawing these boxes right here, so I already said like you've this one to tackle, you've this one to tackle, and obviously this is where the FTX stuff happened. So you have a few levels above you that need to be tested. All of those are in this range, right? In this box. However, if we eventually, and this is, I would say, I don't expect this to happen tomorrow, to be honest, but if eventually we actually manage to reclaim all the way to $25,000 or $26,000 at the bare minimum, only then I would truly recognize the chart as becoming more bullish. Until then, I might recognize early strength, but I will not start saying like, oh my God, the bear market has ended. That's my view on the chart. And well, aside of that, those are simply facts. Basically, those are just facts. So that's not even speculation at this point. It's just a fact. The price really needs to reclaim this level in order to see further upside. Period. End of discussion. Okay. So we've had some time to check out, to let some data form now. What do we see over here? And I see accumulation here in the chat over here. It could be an accumulation. I would actually agree on that if we reclaim this level. As far as we have not touched this level, so now let's get actually to this level. Why is this level so important for me? Well, I hope that I already explained that a little bit. But basically, this is the point of control of a 5-month range period, meaning that there's just a significant amount of volume being transacted at this level. So generally speaking, you would expect that to be major resistance. However, due to the happenings of whatever happened over the past few months, there is there is an argument to be made for this level to actually not hold, right? And the reason for that is, in the end, like if you look at the really big time frame, we have decreased crazy. We have decreased 76, 77% in price from its all-time highs at $69,000, which was being put in on the 15th of November in 2021. 77%, first of all. It's very typical in a bear market that people just leave. You know, people just leave in the market. People lose their interest. You know, in the media is not covering any of that. People just forget about it. Potentially, we have arrived at this point. You know, I mean, if you're still here trading this bear market, you're a true warrior, by the way. So hats off to you. I salute. You're here then to stay, you know, so that's really good. If you're here right now watching this video and not smashing the likes button, then go do that right now. But if you couldn't let it go. But if you are here right now trying to learn, I think that's really the best way you can invest your time right now, because now is the time where everything is relatively quiet. Of course, we have big volatility today, and there are big moves. But I think if you invest your time right now in learning how this all works, then whenever the real momentum picks up again, there's only good things gonna come from that, you know. This is the time with small price movements to practice risk management, to practice how to read the charts, you know, to just get experience. You know, it's not necessary. Of course, you can make just as much money in a bear market as bull market if you know how it works. But if you're still learning, it provides a really nice and actually relatively stable environment for learning and getting some experience and trades under your belt. So that is what I would recommend that you spend your time. So hats off to you again. So getting back to my point, people have left the market, and most of all, you know, $20,000 at the time was really heavily bought at the time, which was one of the reasons why I thought we were not going to hold the level. It took 5 months ultimately, but it did happen, you know. A black swan event was needed for this to really happen, to pretty much definitively lose that 20K region. But this was a level that a lot of people were still really interested to buy. Once we actually lost that level, this is, first of all, a lot of people just got liquidated. Second of all, we had billions and billions of dollars lost within the market, right? Because FTX exchange basically faltered. So a lot of people, a lot of capital has actually left the markets. So, you know, you have to think, you know, so there's not really that much people that are still holding long positions in my belief. So, you know, that is one argument you could make, that this level might actually get sliced through, right? So give me 1 second. I need to close my window. 1 second. There we go. Sorry about that. I'm back. Yeah, so basically, that is one argument you can make, that this level might not hold, which is extra reason for me to pay sincere attention. So if your question is, am I looking to short the level, is, I would say maybe. It depends on how we reach the level, right? So if we reach the level in such a way where, you know, we actually coming off of a short squeeze and then have a weak reaction, and as a matter of fact maybe flip this level, which is now resistance, back into support, then I might actually, you know, not be interested in a short, but actually anticipating on a breach of the level, right? That is what I would say. However, if you then locally start to actually get rejected, lose this level once again, meaning that this level is not acting as support, right, and falls through right again, then I might actually say like, okay, this point of control was really relevant, you know. That is how I would go about it. So the quick and short and quick answer on this is, what am I going to do at this point of control? I would say depends. Initially, because we are in a bear market, I am interested in potentially taking a short if I see the signs that I want to see. And there's a lot of signs, so it's basically impossible to go through right now live in the stream on all the points. But if I see those signs that I want to see, which is essentially a lot of people getting extremely bullish, for example, at this level, seeing a lot of long trades open right at resistance, and then actually, you know, starting to change that local market structure and losing the levels, then I have a good case of that this could have been indeed the high. But you don't know when price is gonna tap in there right away. You don't really know that, you know? So my approach that I'm going to do is, I might be interested in just scalping these levels, just trading these two levels, and then if we start losing bigger levels, then it might evolve into a much larger swing trade, which is a trade that I would flesh out over time, you know? So I'm not gonna just instantly get into the trade just like that, per se. However, I'm also, if we, let's say, just, of course, we can just smash through. Well, then, you know, you can always do three things in the market. You can long, you can short, or you can do nothing. And doing nothing is also a way of trading, right? So if we do this, then I don't really have a good setup, because I don't have a good place of invalidation. There's no real structure. There's no accurate levels that, you know, where I feel comfortable placing my stop loss. So if this happens, I'm simply not going to do anything. I'm not going to take a new position, you know. I'm not really going to take a new position. So, however, if we actually breach through the level, then what I'm more interested in is later on in time to actually get like this bigger retracement and see if we flip this into support. And then I might actually be interested in a long trade, for example. That is my way of looking at the charts. And in that regards, I would be prepared for every single scenario, really. So we've gone over all the scenarios, and at the moment it's kind of like playing out as I already taught and explained live here on stream. Actually, I'm expecting this level for now to hold at least and have another attempt. So I would say maybe now is a good time to actually go over the chat, interact a little bit, and see if more data can form. Let me set an alarm in the meantime, where I would be just doing that over here. If that goes off, right, then I'm going to switch back to the chart and go through the price section. And I'm also going to put an alarm here. Until then, there's very little to do at the moment, really. Unless you're scalping this, which I'm not, by the way, because I'm pretty much... Well, I thought I was done trading for the day, but now I'm very interested in what's going to happen at the level. And, you know, surprise, surprise, when there's volatility, always when I try to go live, price dies out. You know, so it's really funny. So I've gone through the majority of the stuff that I think is important to know right now. Let's keep this on the screen. Let us just interact a little bit. So. Time to actually take a sip of my coffee, which has gone cold right now. I was so excited to let you guys know what's going on here. Let me know how you find this stream. Is it too difficult for you to follow? Is it interesting? Are you learning something? Let me know. Let me go through the chat. Wow, that is a lot of interaction. Let me just say hello to some people. Buddy, hello. Lopez, hello. Fibonacci 618, hello, my friend. Arthur, hello. Wow, so many people in the chat. Amazing, guys. You guys really blew me away with your enthusiasm. Like, not gonna lie, it's great. It's amazing to see you guys' support. I'm really humbled. I did not expect this amount of people looking at my stream. Amazing. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. When I'm trading, I like to drink a whole bottle of Jack Daniels to numb the pain if I take a huge loss. Well, that's the stuff that we should talk about right now. Yeah, I also always do the no. It can be one way of dealing with your situation. Yeah, it can work. Not gonna lie, can work. As long as you close that trade though before you start, drinking, that's important. And don't forget about it and then wake up the next day with an even bigger loss. Let me see. Would you teach us understand order flow, CVD imbalances, TPO, and so much more here on YouTube? Yeah, to be honest with you all, I just did not expect this amount of people interested in me doing videos, honestly. I kind of realized after last week there was so much interest that I just essentially started building out my studio just literally right away, which I originally did not really plan to do until a few months after that. But yeah, I do have quite a bit of plans. I will make a separate video about that. Maybe not even behind the computer or something. Just have a little bit to give you all an idea of what my plans are for this channel. I will make educational videos most of the time. I've also heard people asking me if I'm gonna make a Discord or something like that. To be honest, I do have some plans, but I do need some time to flesh them out. I will be giving a lot of free content out there, but I cannot exclude that there will be some paid content in the future, but there will always be a free section, so don't worry about that. But at some point I do think it might be I do think there's gonna be some form of paid content in the future, but in what shape or form, that is I don't want to disclose that yet. So that will come with time. For now, I'm just going to make videos like this, for example, and teaching about the markets and everything, and just help you guys get educated. Just to pay my respects of basically the fact that you're still here in the bear market. Like I said, I can't repeat enough. Now is the best time to invest in yourself. Investing in education is essentially always good. Personally, I'm always trying to learn something new, always trying to search for new challenges. And yeah, so I'm always basically do that. Do you offer one-on-one coaching? As a matter of fact, that is something that I do. Well, I said it now publicly on stream. I do. So I do have a website where you can actually book slots. However, as you might know, my time is quite limited. I'm pretty busy, but I do one-on-one lessons. Yes, that is something that I do currently. So if you're interested, then you can find me on Discord or on Twitter, for example. Be careful for scammers though, because there are people that are impersonating me and are trying to grab money. And so there's a few rules. I would never ever DM you just out of nowhere. So if you want to get in touch with me, you have to contact me. And then I might reply, and I will always try to verify that it's the real me. So I will never just DM you out of nowhere with some kind of stuff. I'm strongly against that. It's very sensitive to scammers, and that is something I will never ever do. So just keep that in mind. Magic Mike strike again. Hello, my friend. How are you doing? Thanks for your kind comment. Dutch Master with more bass. Yeah, I hope you can hear it. I did something with the bass. I don't have a Discord. I'm at the moment. I'm not planning to do one right now, at least. Maybe in the future, but at the moment I don't have one. So I don't have any concrete plans on creating something like that at the moment. And that is just because at the moment I'm just too busy. You know, if I'm ever going to do something like that, I would just want to make sure that I'm going to have the time and space to actually be, you know, bring value. And at the moment, I'm not sure if I can do that with this, you know, the schedule that I currently have. So for that reason, I only do it if the quality is gonna be good, you know. And at the moment, I can just not guarantee the quality that you might wanna have. So for that reason, I'm not having a community right now. Mike, please, can you use so to speak again? Okay, so for those who are new here, it's a little bit of a joke. I think that's pretty funny. As you might hear, English is not my native language, so I used to say so to speak a lot, or having that said, and apparently I've been on such an automatic level that I was just saying that. But as you might have heard, I have worked on that, on my pronunciation. So I'm changing it up a little bit just to sound a little bit more proficient in the language. That's a funny one. Hope you're doing well, my friend, by the way. Do you use smart money concepts when trading? So this is the thing. Probably yes, but I haven't actively studied these concepts, but there's a really high chance that I'm implementing the same philosophies. The same goes with other specific trading tools and strategies, you know. For example, order flow, I'm pretty much self-taught and all of that. And of course, there's like terms and words about all that kind of stuff. But in the end, terminology doesn't really matter to me so much. For me, what matters the most is if I understand these kind of concepts. So, you know, it's a bit of a vague answer, but to answer your question, do you use smart money concepts when trading? The chance is 99%. Yes, probably I am. You know, maybe I'm not even aware of it, but yes, probably I am. So essentially, so to speak, we have, yeah. That is pretty cool to see so much interaction in the chat. There's so much questions. Oh, yes, that is a great reminder. By the way, yeah, that is a great reminder. Alexandru Husenita, sorry if I butcher your name. Shout out to you, because I actually missed to highlight an important detail. There's confluence at this point of control level, which is the golden pocket over here, right? So from the drop to the downside, all the way to this low, we have really nice confluence. And with confluence, I mean multiple technical levels from different origins lining up really nicely with each other, one being based off of mathematics and one based off of volume, lining up exactly with each other. So yes, shout out to you, my friend. Thank you for reminding me. That is definitely, that is definitely a good reason why there could be resistance. And actually, it illustrates the difference. Whereas this daily over here, let me just clean up that stuff a little bit. The difference of that is, as a matter of fact, there was no overlapping levels whatsoever on this blue level over here, right? This is a daily level at 17,804. Also not really over here, but here there actually is. So yeah, that's a really good one. Looks like we're still ranging. Oh yeah, so I do want to do a little throwback on my last video that I made and really quickly look at the dollar, because I remember that I said I remain bullish on the dollar last week. However, we have now seen some new developments, and this is also just part of trading. I'm gonna share with you the good stuff, but I'm also gonna share you the stuff that sometimes doesn't work out. I really plan this to be transparent, because you might be fooled by a lot of information out there on the internet about trading, and especially in the crypto space, where everybody only seems to be making money. But this could not be further from the truth. Trading is literally a game of probabilities, and with that, you have to factor in you will make losses. You will. The difference of being an enthusiast and a professional trader is that a professional trader knows or always keeps their losses relatively small by knowing when they're actually wrong on their trade idea, and let their winner trades let them come to full fruition, and that what leads to be profitable. Now, one of these examples is I highlighted last week on the dollar. I highlighted this major range where at the time we were finding support, and I remember exactly where we were at right then. We were actually having an increase in price. I think it was somewhere around this level. We made slight further advances only to test this level of resistance. And that is where we started seeing a decline from the 6th of January, eventually actually getting acceptance, meaning we're spending quite a significant amount of time back into this major 13-year-old channel. Sorry, not 13 years, almost 8 years. 8 years channel. We are now pretty much back into it. Now, am I instantly becoming very bearish on the dollar? No, not per se. However, the dollar and the traditional markets are a little bit more sensitive to news, right? Especially with all the global stuff going on. I mean, there are quite some reasons why we might see some relief in tension recently, because the energy market is starting to not go that great anymore. This is really important for Europeans, so that's actually good news. Actually good news. The inflation is starting to tame a little bit. We're definitely not out of the woods yet, but all that combined with these technicals, in the end, we got rejected off the level, right? And we now have acceptance back into this range. And now I'm not necessarily becoming extremely bearish on the dollar per se, but I'm not gonna ignore the fact that the situation did change somewhat, because the last stream that I did, we were holding this really nicely as support, backtesting it, and forming a range, making a strong case for actually doing something like this. But this is a great example of why trading are probabilities. Anything can happen at any time, at any point. So let's say if you did long here, then I would have already gotten out of this trade whatsoever. I'm still long on the dollar, but I'm long on the dollar since way back. So at the moment, my position is absolutely no danger, right? So the next level that I am looking at for the dollar is over here. So the 101 would be the level where I expect the dollar to give some sort of a reaction. Maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't. If it does, then that's usually not great news for Bitcoin. If we do fall through, right, then that's pretty good news for Bitcoin. And by the way, the overall markets as well. So, I would say that's actually overall pretty good news, I would say, aside, like taking the trading side apart. So yeah, let's see what we got on the order flow. Too bad, just as I'm going live, we literally just price just dies out. Actually, this brings me to a really important topic that I kind of want to discuss with you today. So I want to discuss the following. So I'm going to just keep this on the stream, and I want to talk about a really important topic. So if you're still watching, which is great, thank you for that. Have you ever been in the situation where you've set up your trade, you made a solid plan, and you spent hours on analyzing the charts, and you've made sure that you formulated the plan, and then the moment is finally there and you just put on the trade, and then the trade hovers around your entry for a while? This is more relating for those who already have some experience in trading. So you're in the trade and the trade hovers around your entry for a while, and then suddenly just stops you out and then goes into your actual direction, leaving you being right on the direction of the price, but leaving you with no trade, missing out on the move. So does this happen to you very often in this bear market? Does this resonate with you, that you're getting stopped out again and again and again, even if you think you've done everything right, and then finally, once you accept that you are actually wrong, price does exactly what you predicted, leaving you without position? I have good news for you, because after you've watched this section of the video, I think this will help you deal greatly with the choppy market that we're dealing with right now. At the moment, we have momentarily volatility, but overall, the market remains just fairly choppy, you know? So I need you to hit that like button and smash the notification bell, because in the end, like I said before, that's what bells and buttons are for. You need to smash them into oblivion. Just let's go. So first and foremost, it's really important to actually acknowledge that a bear market is very different in its characteristics than a bull market. Of course, uptrend and a downtrend, that's textbook stuff, you know. Of course we can be in an uptrend, but a bear market overall, right? And I've been trading for quite some time now, so you know, I have lived through multiple cycles. The characteristic in a bear market generally is very different than in a bull market. So first, in a bear market, we tend to have consolidating price action a lot more than when you're typically in a bull market. So of course you can have a strong downtrend, but generally speaking, ranges are usually more common in a bear market, as well as in a bull market. But you know, just let me just show you, you know. If you would take a look, of course, we declined 75% in price, right? So here, big move, big move, big move, big move, big move, massive move, etc. But really, how many times did this actually happen over the course of 2 years? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times over 2 years. Now let's just take a look at how many ranges we got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Not accurate, but I hope you get the point. Actually, let me just do this right. Bear flag, you know, and within this bear flag, countless of ranges. Another range, another range, another range, another range. So really, the majority of the time, we're just consolidating. And then we have a big move out of it, and then we just, you know, consolidate again, right? So in a bear market, it's really much more common for price to just make a sudden move and then just die out completely, and then make another move again and die off again, you know? So the first thing that you need to be aware of is you need to be much more patient. Let me actually show you another example, or more locally. This is the BitGet chart. Let me move over to the Bybit chart. Whoops. Really liking that exchange, by the way. So here we actually have, you know, one of these examples where we have just locally, so this is even on the 4-hour chart, but here we have a move, boom, and then price just dies out. Move, right? Well, okay, this is where price actually advanced, but, you know, better example. Move, price kind of just chops around. Move, price just chops around. move. Price just chops around, you know. And let's take not to even mention this whole section. I mean, chop, 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 chop. Price just barely moves and then boom, move out, right? So it's just much more common. So that's the first thing. Now, secondly, you have to also realize that we're in low liquidity environments. So while the technical levels do tend to still be very well respected, if you know how to do technical analysis correctly, you do have to consider the fact that the majority of the people usually have left. So, you know, like I said, if you're still here, you're a true warrior. But to be honest, as a trader, in the end, it doesn't really matter much because you can literally trade both ways. You can long the market, you can short the market every single day, whenever you want, you know. So as a trader, it shouldn't really make much of a difference whether you're trading in a bear market or in a bull market. There's money to be made on both sides. But that being said, in a low liquidity environment, it can actually be much more difficult to scale into your positions, as it's simply much harder to conceal them if you're a larger trader. Because there's a big lack of participation within the market is also just prone to much more unexpected volatility as price just searches for that liquidity all the time. And for this reason, it can simply take multiple attempts to challenge these highs or lows after ranging around and about the region of interest for a while, as price does like to double check quite a bit. Something we've seen here yesterday, which was this, you know, these golden pocket area, right? Tap, chop, chop, and here again, pop, 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 boom, you know, many checks. And then just do nothing afterwards, right? Today, a bit of a special day, obviously. But the thing is, how can you actually factor this into your trading? And how can this knowledge help you stop getting chopped up? 3 things. That's not... hopefully not throwing up gang signs or something. I'm trying to make an A. Anyway, doesn't matter. Common behavior, what I see happening in a lot, is that people always chase the perfect entry, and therefore, you know, get, you know, a little bit hyped up by, you know, other traders chasing that perfect entry, you know, and therefore you get into their full position size right away. So the first thing that I would say, lower your position size to deal with this environment. You know, personally, I'm not a big fan of this, to get into your full position size right away, because, you know, you essentially trap yourself without having much flexibility. If you build out your position more slowly, spread it over time, over multiple entries, for example, there's actually a higher chance, first of all, of getting filled, but it also gives you some wiggle room when it comes to your stop loss. And that leads me to the second point, using wider stop losses. Right? Using wider stop losses allows your trade to breathe for a little bit and cope with choppy areas as price is testing a level maybe multiple times as it's hovering around. This opens up the possibility to actually get an even better average entry, as you could actually add up on every test, you know, depending on your ability to read order flow and price action, you know. Like I said, these are my experiences and opinions. This is not financial or trading advice. I'm not telling you what to do. Ultimately, the decision is yours. But using these wider stop losses and using your lower position size allows you to put your stop loss further away without risking too much, right? While maintaining that risk management that you have. That is the most important thing. And also, you don't trap yourself into your position that otherwise, you know, might just have been way too tight. This can lead, besides of taking unnecessary losses, also can lead to psychological issues, you know, when it comes to trading mentality. It can give you like these bad vibes and, you know, just simply lead to really bad decision making. And that hurts your portfolio significantly, ultimately. It makes you lose confidence. It makes you frustrated or angry, you know, and depending on what type of person you are, it can lead to ruin, really. So lower your position size, use a wider stop loss, and then think in percentages. So applying point A and point B, lowering your position size and using a wider stop loss into your strategy might initially show you less profits due to lower positioning and wider stop losses, right? However, if you think in percentages, this will relieve you actually of the emotional side of trading. It will just completely get rid of it. In the end, in my opinion, chasing money in trading just usually ends up in a massive losing streak ultimately. So, consider yourself in the following situation. Telling someone how much money you made in trading does not really matter. What are you gonna say? Like, oh, that's great, man. Yeah. Thumbs up for you. That's great. So, if you made, let's say, $100,000 on a trade, right? It might mean a lot to you, but for someone else, this might actually mean very little. It's a way of comparing your level 1 to somebody else's level 10, right? Being able to actually talk about a return rate of, let's say, 15% or higher in a single year, money will be completely out of the equation and actually becomes relative. 15% profits is actually a great result, regardless if you did it with $1,000. Because if you can make 15% on a portfolio with $1,000, right? 15% is still 15%. So why could you not do that with $10,000 or $100,000 or $1 million? Why not? It shows the true potential in the end, thinking in those percentages. Because in the end, the possibilities are endless because that number is relative, and it helps you grow into trading larger in the end. You might not be there yet, but thinking in percentages is already a good habit to just get into. Forget about the amount of money that you're earning. Think in percentages, like having a return rate of double digits in a single year is a really great result already, by the way, and of course, if you're good in trading, you can make a lot more than that. But if you're starting out or if you're still learning, it's just really unrealistic to expect that from yourself, It's just not realistic. Lastly, trading is a profession that requires adaptability. You have to realize that the market is always changing, and if you fail to recognize the fact that it is, then you will very likely not be a consistent performer in the long run in the markets. Let's say a strategy that works really well for 5 years does not automatically mean it is going to work in the 6th year without, the need for some adjustments. Avoid getting tunnel vision and stay observant for any changes that might come as time progresses. So, therefore, it's really important that you adapt your ways when the market conditions ask for it. My camera went off. Let me see what happened over there. Maybe it overheated or something. I don't know. There we go. Should be back on. Or maybe. Anyway, my camera is off. So I don't know. I don't know what happened. Need to take a look at that. Anyway. So yeah, we filled in some time now. Yeah, battery empty. It should not be empty because it should keep on charging, to be fair. But we will see. Anyway, I'm not gonna deal with that right now. Yeah, maybe the battery did run out. I don't know. We'll see. That's fine. Right. I see. Yeah, the batteries died out. I don't know. It's a new technology that I'm using right now. So, but who cares? Who cares? You all know how I look like right now, and we are getting some price action. So let's forget about that. And yeah, exactly. Thank you, my friend. Press the like button if you like the camera. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're gonna continue without. Let's take a look at price action. Looking to attempt the high. So basically, let's tune into this. What I'm looking at currently. is what I want to see for a bullish push to the upside is I want to see an increase in volume, in bull volume, which is at the moment looks like we might actually be getting that. It's starting, maybe. I want to see an increase in volume, and I also want to see an increase in fresh longs opening, because that can actually push us towards that liquidity point where, stop losses are for the shorts, and that can push us through the level up to the level that I'm actually looking for. Somehow it seems that every time I try to actually dive into the live price action, price dies out. So I don't really know what is really happening, but it's annoying. Anyway, so I don't really. Is the sound still good? Do you guys hear me still all right? Or there's definitely some stuff that I start to need to take a look at after this. Like I said, it's new equipment, so I just need to learn how to work with it, which is also one of the reasons why I decided to do a live stream, so we can just test it out for real. Okay, so currently we are seeing some orders coming in. We're seeing on the ask side, we're seeing some thin books, which means that there is not a lot of participation at the moment on this part. So this is what I'm talking about. You had like this massive influx in volume suddenly. In this case, it comes from from a short squeeze. But now we kind of have a little bit of a range where I would like to see that volume actually coming back into the market. But at the moment, it's just flatlining pretty much, making it so that at this point in time, I would say the likelihood of breaking upwards is higher because of the context that we've been able to build. But if I would literally just come into the markets and just view at this point in time, I would literally say it has pretty much a 50% chance now either to test this high or this low first. Now, when we are testing this high or this low first, it doesn't really matter, but we can start making a comparison, right? We can see how much volume was in this candle. To be honest, not really that great. Also, not a lot of participation. So, to be fair, just my first impression is that this is not necessarily super strong support. Now, if I look at the high, I'm kind of seeing the same thing. Right, there's very little new traders actually coming into there. Yeah, it's kind of more. It looks more like an automatic reaction to me at this point in time, making it so that ultimately this little range at the moment is literally just 50-50. So at the moment, this is more or less just what it is right now. Consolidation underneath resistance, though, which adds a little bit to the bullish bias, So overall, I haven't changed my mind at all whatsoever. I still think we're gonna go up, but let's say if you would be scalping this region, or you can literally just trade this range. If you know how to trade ranges, then this could be something to trade, right? Not going to go over that in depth now. I really want to just focus on the price action. And as you can see, there's a lot of information to look at here, so, don't be, I can imagine that this is quite overwhelming and that with every tick to the downside and every tick to the upside, you can actually, get confused, for example. But yeah, that is why understanding the overall context is important, because I don't think it's very good use of your time per se when you're looking for this trade setup and you're literally trading, for example, in the middle of the range. It's not necessarily good practice to just. It's like watching paint dry, right? It's. I would say it's not that great of an. Way of just staring at the order flow. Like, you need to pick your levels first. You need to understand the context first. And then once you've decided levels that you're actually interested in trading, then you can, confirm basically what is going to happen. You know what, or not what is going to happen, what is happening at the moment, and you can just react on it. You can see live what is happening. You can see the live orders coming into the market. You can see exactly who is getting out of the market and who is getting in of the market. You know, are there longs, are there shorts, are there limit orders waiting? It's just the beauty of this software. Um, for day traders, ideal software. If you're more of a high time frame trader, then this is probably not much of interest to you, because this is more detail work. But what I can see over here at the moment is open interest is starting to recover slightly. I'm gonna switch over to a different template right now. People keep on shorting, longing as well. So at the moment it's just range bound. Things more likely. The shorts are currently just in more danger. You know, because we haven't seen a single sign of a real rejection yet. You know, we have seen a reaction, but we have not seen a rejection yet. Big difference in that. So I would say these shorts are in danger, and I think it's very, 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 very likely that it's gonna not end great for them. Yeah, and now I mean, I'm gonna work to an ending of this video now, because pretty much there's not really that much more left to say. And also, if I'm completely honest with you guys, I do wanna trade that level also. So I think I'm gonna finish it up here very soon. Take a quick look at the chat. I mean, basically all the information that I wanted to give is now being given. I hope that this was very useful for you. We dove into some really complex subjects tonight. So if you're already a trader that is already having some experience under the belt, I think this stream is very beneficial for you. Watch it a few times maybe. But also, I've explained exactly what I want to see here, what I kind of expect from here on out to happen. Basically boils down to the fact that there's people shorting, whatever their reason is. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what the reason is, whether this was for a leveraged short or a hedge. I don't care. All that I'm seeing is that people are shorting pretty aggressively as opposed to longs, and they do so after a legitimate breakout, to be fair, of a 2-month-old range, trying to attempt to get back into it. I understand why people are looking to short here. So I'm not saying that this is a bad idea per se to short, because if you're just following plain technical analysis, it makes sense to look for a short trade here. But this is where order flow can give you the edge. You can actually see what is happening. Who is getting very aggressive? Where is the crowd looking at? And at the moment, the crowd is just looking to short, really, overall. And longing is kind of fine, to be fair. Okay, let me rephrase that. I would never ever long here, by the way, to enter into a new trade. That is something that goes really strongly against my practice, and I am not doing that. Because, if you're not in a long from lower, then this is a horrible place to get into a fresh trade. You just simply have to wait for, for actual, basically a few days, really. You have to wait for this to breach and then backtest, It's pretty much the only way. Or if you're looking for a long, you would be looking for a rejection first and look to long lower, as it potentially might backtest this support levels, for example. Longing here straight into resistance is a very quick way to wreck yourself. So I would say check yourself before you wreck yourself. And lastly, but so that was what I was on about. But the fact that we do see longs here, not me, and you should not do that either, especially after watching this video, it can help push price higher to tap into the stop losses, right? So that's my view on the current situation. And as far as that doesn't change, simply if we don't see a drop, for example, then that is not going to change. I also see that intraday level is starting to catch up as well. So that is now also starting to become support. So the support is building and building, and the case for a short becomes slightly weaker. Um, which is, my bias is literally not changing. Maybe we might do another rotation here and then go up. This is what I typically kind of would expect, to be totally honest with you. If we do it now right away, fair enough, right? That's fair. That's cool too. If we instead start to lose these levels, right, and then, we have this intraday level over here. This is interesting for the day traders. Where are you starting to catch up ultimately to really become, I don't know, really become to see a full-on rejection, like a local rejection would really start to be looking like this, losing this support, backtesting this as resistance, and then you have new support coming in over here. I would say if you really start losing really this $18,000 region again, then I would actually say like, wow, this was a rejection. And you might think like, wow, isn't that really far away? Well, yeah, it kind of is. But on the other hand, the downside potential then is great as well, because you would simply be trading this whole white box. So it might just be worth it. Anyway, if I speak more about this, then I am starting to lean towards like signals and stuff like that. And I really, especially in public live streams, I kind of want to avoid that, at least for the time being. So let me go over some final questions, and then I'm gonna call it a day. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Great content. Well, I'm happy you guys like it. I think there's something in it for everybody. How much is ExtraChat? Well, honestly, I don't know. I think it's actually really cheap, to be fair, because if you use order flow software in the traditional market, it's a couple $1,000s a month, and ExtraCharts is honestly, I can't remember. I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks or so per month. I don't know. So it's great software. And actually, it's going to be really cool because ExtraCharts will actually be adding in stocks as well very soon, very shortly. So I just happen to have some secret inside information. So yeah, that is going to be pretty epic. If you're also interested in trading stocks, then soon you can also start doing that in ExtraCharts. So shout out to you guys at ExtraCharts, brilliant guys. When will you be on again? Certain schedule. At the moment, I'm just working it out. I will post at least one video a week. That's my plan, and maybe more, but at least one. For the time being, and I'll just see how it goes. I'll see how it goes. And if I'm going live, it's most likely going to be on Thursday evenings around this time. So that is something that I think you can look to expect. Okay, so yeah, that's the last question that I'm going to take. Two more. I'll take three more questions. So the first one is, I would love to hear from you. Okay, five more questions. Mike, how many years have you traded? Well, I started trading in 2019, so that is coming on to pretty much 4 to 5 years. I don't know exactly the point. Actually, I'm lying. It was 2018, so that's coming on to 5 years, I believe. I can't remember the exact point when I started, because the beginning of getting into the markets was kind of a vague process. I just started dabbling in it, and of course I started out losing a lot, which actually inspired to learn more about it, and eventually getting good at it and understanding what I'm looking at. And that is eventually how I managed to trade my capital together. And that's where we are till the day of today. And now I make an effort into all of those experiences that I've got, because I have got wrecked so many times. I have seen the highs and the lows, quite literally, not only on the charts, but also on my portfolio and in my personal psychology. So I've gone through pretty much all of these things multiple times. And I'll make an effort into sharing that, what I know and what I have learned over time in the markets with you guys, so that you hopefully do not make the same mistakes, or not make the same mistakes as often as I did. Okay, so that was question number 1. Where were my questions? Oh man, there's so much going on in the chat. I need to figure out a way how to read that better. Yeah, so if you don't mind to do some live trading, so I do have plans for something along the lines of that. I'm not a big fan of actually trading live, but I do have some pretty cool ideas that will be nice in the middle of both, of what I want to do and I think what you guys are gonna like. It does involve actual trading. But there's a few risks involved with that I first need to sort out. And in due time, I will come up with something to accommodate for that wish that you guys might have. Absolutely. I love that you have a YouTube channel right now. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm also really enjoying this. I'm not gonna lie. I really missed making videos, and I just really enjoy interacting with you guys. It's amazing. Oh, I lost the questions that I wanted to answer. Do you trade any alts? At the moment, I'm more of an investor in alts. So I have been building up a portfolio over the course of a few years now. And at the moment, if you're asking if I'm day trading alts, no. Am I swing trading alts? Also not. Am I invested in alts? Yes. And then the final and last question, am I holding any bags? No. Because I have good risk management. But yes, I am invested in alts, but at the moment I'm not trading them. Do you still have your short from all-time high? Yes, I do, but not. It's not leveraged anymore. It's now more. It's a hedge essentially. The first entry was indeed at all-time highs. Throughout the process, I have unhedged partially at times, and then I rehedged later on. So if my entry is not at $66,000 anymore, which was the original first entry, which was the all-time high. So that's something that I can tell my grandkids. But currently, my actual entry is a lot lower than that. There we go. Okay. Abandon the questions. Okay, so what do we see here right now? We see price action. We see some liquidations coming in. We see some longs taking profits over here because price is going up. They close out of their trades. So these are knowledgeable people knowing how to trade a range. That's the first thing I'm seeing. We are starting to see the beginning of a short squeeze. It's not really begun yet. So I want to see a bigger decrease of open interest. As a matter of fact, I want to see them all getting pushed out of the market. That's what I want to see. Now let's see the size of the orders. Flipping back to this template, we see a decrease in open interest that I've already just seen. What are the sizes of the orders? Relatively small, but combined, accumulated all together, we can see a larger volume coming into the market. We can also see this by the time that these candles are being produced. So this is currently at the volume chart, meaning that every new candle is being printed once every 5 million worth of volume is being transacted. As you can see, it took us like around 15 minutes per candle, and now we're starting to see that they're being produced in a slower amount of time, and thus, we can conclude that volume is slowly but surely picking up. Currently dealing with local resistance at the value area low. Once again, like I said, chopping around. This is the result. Going down to the lower 5-minute time frame. Again, not really getting a reaction as of yet. I still would not exclude one that actually might happen right now, or even something like this. Still possible. But we're gonna see. If we, difficult to say. I'm more inclined to think that we just shoot straight up into the bigger level. So that's what I was reading just now, and yeah, I think we're gonna go through. So there was one more question that I kind of wanna answer. Da-da-da-dum. Oh, I lost the question. There was one that I kind of liked a lot that I wanted to go through, but I lost it. Okay, interesting. We see longs opening up here, doing two things at the same time here. I think watching this is way more important than looking through the chat. So here, this is where we see the first big order coming in, So this is somebody trying to push the price up. So let's see if they succeed. Let's see if they succeed. If you're really getting into the details, this is now immediate support, this level, 18,872. As long as we're not diving below this level, I see immediate advancement in price possible as well, meaning that we go higher. So this is instant support. I mean, this is right now in this bear market, this is a move of, I don't know, 0.002%, but works exactly the same in bigger price action. Works exactly the same. Concept remains the same. Just faster price movements. So that's, like I said, now is the good time to practice. Although boring, I would say delete the word boring from your dictionary in trading. Boring should be the equivalent of patience. The market, it doesn't matter. If you're here to seek excitement, to get entertained or get bored, then you're most likely not going to be a good trader. You need to look at the market as objectively as you can. There is no boring or there is no excitement in the market. All that matters is you're here to read the charts and extract money out of the market. That is your job as a trader. Nothing more, nothing less. That's it. So we're challenging these highs right now. It's great. That's ongoing. Looking at the dollar right now. Not much going on. I mean, if anything, it's kind of like dropping, which makes sense because, as expected, seeing support coming in lower, not necessarily here per se. So, which leaves open quite a bit of some room for upside. So, okay, I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. These studio lights, I also need to take a look at that because they're really hot and they're giving me a headache. So I'm gonna wrap it up. Final conclusion, like just as simple as I can possibly explain it. Coming off of bullish market structure, reclaiming a super local range over here, initially around New Year's, getting out of that range, forming a bullish consolidation in this scenario. So generally it's not necessarily bullish, but in this context it is. Pushed out of that, eventually bringing us to the top of this entire white box, and now making our attempt back into the really, really, really big range, which is a very important point. Signs of rejections, of actually rejection, or more specifically a reversal, is I would say this is support. Coming in at $18,000, then at this point in time, we could say like, yeah, it's pretty likely that was the high. Until then, you have essentially this entire region which you can look to trade. If we just smash through, well, that's great. It gives us a next piece of the story. But for me, it's not a reason to enter into a new trade if this actually happens. What I want to do is I want to wait for price to calm down so I can do fresh analysis with the fresh data that has been given, so I can tie this new piece of the narrative into the story that came before and make up a new plan, make up my mind on what I want to do next. I think that's a great ending. So, thank you guys for watching. This has been an amazing time. I'll make sure that next time my equipment works properly. This was more of a test run. Was amazing. Thank you guys for joining me in here. My voice is also starting to get a little bit on the rough edges, so I need to stop the stream right now. Thank you guys for watching. And even though I'm making wave signs, I know you guys can't see it, but anyway, I'm waving you guys goodbye. Have a brilliant evening. Keep an eye on this channel. If you haven't done so, like it, subscribe to this channel, and just stay tuned for more stuff. Peace out, guys. Cheers.